Oh, got a little different intro today. We're gonna be bringing the show in a little bit different way. The Rev Commander, local music artist, was able to put together some really fun little sound beds for me there. So we're gonna be doing some different stuff with that intro. But the old intro is retired. You know, rest in peace, Blue Red Roses. That intro served the show well. Renee Erickson, really appreciate you. We're moving on to new times, moving forward. We're going to talk about moving forward today because we've got a new mayor in town. Not Fergus Falls mayor, but we've got the newly elected Mayor of Rothsay and longtime local business legend, owner of Ole Lena's Pizza, Shane Balken, sit in the seat talking today. So Shane, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. Nice to be here.
So we're gonna get into it. We got so much to uncover. I mean, Ole Lena's is such a staple restaurant. I know that I'm not sure exactly when the restaurant started. We'll uncover all that, but I remember going there in high school at some point. It was quite the spot when it was just a pizzeria or a restaurant there in Rothsay, and you guys have built it into so much more now. So it's really awesome. I'm interested in hearing that story. And you mentioned before that you've got some big changes for the town of Rothsay coming. We're overhauling the town of Rothsay. Shane said we're building a wall and we're going to make Carlisle pay for it. So I'm excited to potentially be. Is this your first media appearance since winning the election?
This is the first, correct, yes.
This is the first. Okay. Well, we'll give the people a little bit of a preview as to what's to come with Shane Balken as the mayor of Rothsay. So before we get going here, I have some beer on the table here. I see you at Outstate. I know Paul Newman's one of your employees, long-time coworker of mine there at Outstate. So I've got Outstate beer in here this afternoon. Obviously, we have our staples here, New Northern Light, Solar Flare, Back Road. If you feel like getting into one of those, feel free. But the beer of the week here, we're rolling into Christmas time with that Yuletide feeling. This is a hard seltzer. Just all the hard seltzers they do are just so amazing. This one's pomegranate, juniper, lime. So I think it was just tapped within the last week here. It'll probably be gone fast. It seems like a lot of their beers are going very fast. Did you get to try Hop Santa?
I didn't, but I heard it went super fast within the first day or something. I think it was crazy like that.
I think they released this IPA Hop Santa and it was gone within 48 hours or something. So we'll pour up this Yuletide feeling. Oh, a little explosion in the face there. But then thanks to some other sponsors here: Atlas Outdoor Services, Stumbeano's Coffee, Victor Lundeen's, Fergus Home and Hardware, Liberty Business Systems, and Wayne Schuett with Century 21 Atwood. So you feeling like some of this Yuletide feeling?
Sure. I'm always feeling that.
All right. Well, tell me, Shane, a little bit about yourself. Where do you come from? Are you a Rothsay born and raised Rothsay resident here?
I am. Yep.
Okay.
I am a Rothsay kid. Born and raised. I shouldn't say born, but I was an Air Force brat for the first few years of my life. But grew up in Rothsay. My family's from there. And then I went off to college and then joined the Air Force and kind of took after my family roots. And I was in the Air Force for 20 years and then wanted to move back and kind of raise my kids back home. So we moved back in '05. And I was still in the Air Force. I was going to finish out my time in the reserves from that point on. And then that's how this whole Ole Lena's Pizzeria thing kind of came about. So I had transitioned from active duty to the reserves and had this kind of weird, crazy idea to pursue a pizza dream. And I love to remodel things. So I with the help of my cousin and another friend of mine, we did the building that people know as the Ole Lena's building. Remodeled that, and then by '07, took a really huge leap and decided to open a pizza place in the middle of Rothsay. And it was a big risk to say the least. And it wasn't without some challenges, obviously,
right.
As you would kind of expect in a little town. But through it all, as things kind of came up and challenges arose, and you work through them. You always kind of look for ways to kind of work through problems, if you will. And through it all, as the business grew and people got to know it and kind of developed a following. I opened a couple different spots. I opened a place in Barnesville in their little Cenex store for a bit. We grew into the mall. If people remember in the West Acres Mall, we were in there for like 3 years. And then opened up in West Fargo. I was out there for like 7 years. And then so through all these endeavors, some of them worked, some of them didn't. But Rothsay, always remained as kind of my home base and kind of my baby in terms of, that was where it all started. Yeah. It was at times it was tough. So like in the winters, it would be really difficult sometimes, especially with the weather, and sales would be kind of tough. So, you're always thinking about, what do you do to try to help kind of bridge the gap sometimes. And so throughout the years, I had always thought about frozen pizza too. And, so I'm like, you know what, let's give it a shot. So I knew fundraising could be decent, in terms of to kind of help with sales. So I explored some options with local manufacturers who do frozen pizzas.
Okay.
And that's how it all started. So while the restaurant was going, I branched off into frozen, hoping to just kind of help, just bolster sales a little bit.
I want to bring you in a little bit because I want a little bit more on your background.
Okay.
We're going to get into
Gotcha.
going to get into location history and branding and why it's called Ole Lena's and all that stuff. But I really want to kind of get to know you a little bit, your family. So you were in the Air Force.
Yep.
Did you have military influence in your family? Did you have entrepreneurial influence from your parents?
I don't know about entrepreneurial influence, but my family is very, very we have a lot of military background. Like my father was in the Air Force. Both my grandfathers were in the military. My great grandfathers, my great uncles, my uncle. So I had a huge military background in terms of, just growing up with that. So I knew early on that's what I wanted to do. And then my brother and my sister also followed the same route. So we all went through North Dakota State. We went through the Air Force ROTC program. All went into, to become an officer. So we all went into the Air Force. So military is definitely a big part of our
And what year did you graduate high school?
1991.
1991. And then you served until like 2005.
On active duty, I retired in 2015. So I put in a total of 20 with active and reserve time.
Okay. And what kind of stuff did you do for like your first jobs, like whether it be in high school or like college jobs?
It was usually high school, college jobs, usually retail kind of stuff. I did a lot of cooking. It's funny.
Okay, so you did have some culinary background.
If you want to call it culinary, that's maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I did that, and it was okay. At the time you think it kind of stinks, but it's funny. Then you look back and you're like, oh, maybe it wasn't so bad, but yeah. So I did have a little bit of that kind of retail,
and then
stuff.
Went off to college, and then did you go like overseas, active duty, and do some stuff?
I did, yes. So I'd always wanted to be stationed overseas. I was born overseas. My dad was stationed in Norway and Taiwan.
So you can't be president, but you can be the mayor if you're not born in the United States.
Well, technically I was born abroad to U.S. parents. So but no, I don't think I'm going to be president. So I'm okay on that. So, but no, I was stationed overseas. I was stationed in Germany and in England. So I have a lot of experience over in Europe. And then I did some other deployments, in between there too. But so I got to see a lot of the world. I love it. Love traveling. I got that bug early on as a kid.
Yeah.
Like I said, so I grew up with that that military, that background early on, and I knew that's kind of the path that I wanted to follow.
And you got married to someone that you met in high school, college?
College. Yep. So then we had, as we moved overseas, 2 of my 3 children were born overseas, which is kind of cool. So, so then, like I said, we wanted to move back home. Being overseas for quite a while and being away from family, you miss it. So it was time to come back. Put it that way. So.
Yeah. And then the opportunity to start Ole Lena's, that, like you said, there's probably a lot of consideration into that, then ultimately a big leap of faith into that startup.
Right. Yeah. You could call it a big leap of faith. I think a lot of people thought I was probably crazy, as far as to give up a really good job as far as on active duty in the military.
Mm.
And obviously in downtown Rothsay was pretty risky.
Well,
to
there's
say
only
least.
the population of Rothsay is 500 people, right? So
Right.
it's like you've got to really do things well if you're going to be a brick and mortar restaurant in Rothsay.
Right. Yeah.
And you did for a few years.
Yeah. 12 years I was open. Yeah.
For 12 years you were open down. And then that site that you remodeled and opened up, is that a historical building? Is there some historical significance to that?
I think maybe local history. It's not on the national register or anything like that, but local history. There's certainly some unique things about it, and so yeah.
And then the name Ole Lena's. So there's been this sort of it's sort of this Norwegian joke series of jokes. These characters that are in this series of joke. You played off of that in the restaurant name, or tell me about this.
Yeah, so as I was trying to come up with this theme, right, as I was putting the business plan together, I wanted to do something kind of Minnesota-esque, right? So I was thinking of things that would be local, but so I ended up coming back to Ole and Lena jokes, and I'm like, well, what could be kind of a weird play on words? And for those who are into Minnesota joke books and things like that, there's a book called How to Speak Minnesotan. That's a really good book, and I just love it. And so there's a bunch of quirky things that are in that book that I really kind of hung on to, and I kind of incorporated into the business and restaurant. So so obviously Ole and Lena's Pizzeria, the finest Norwegian Italian restaurant, came out of that, and 510 Norwegians can't be wrong, and so it was fun to use that. Joe Bowman, for those who remember her, she had her Lena impersonation that she did. So she did my radio advertising actually here.
Yeah, I was listening. I pulled up one of the old ads.
Yep.
I should have cued it into my sound pad and played one of those old ads. But let me tell you, the tagline, what is it? Italian spice, Norwegian nice.
Yep.
It's a good tagline right there. That's what marketing campaigns are built off of right there.
Yeah, well, thanks. And I wish I could take credit. I mean, I had some help on that, but along the way, I mean, so there's all sorts of fun stuff that came about, with the restaurant and the branding, and a lot of it stuck. We're still using it today and stuff. But yeah, we had a great time, as far as the creative, branding that came with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like in order for you guys to have built kind of what you built, and we're going to talk about kind of your transition out of the restaurant into the frozen pizza game and all of that. But in order for you guys to have been successful in that transition, that brand name has to be the most valuable thing you guys have done for your business, probably, is establish a brand that people can relate to. And, whether you're a restaurant or now a wholesale pizza supplier, like, people know that name. They know that's a local name. So you did a very good job with that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Talk to me a little bit more about that time then. It would have been between like 2007, 2012, probably, when the restaurant was running, and then how all of that came to be with the transition into what you're doing. Because you said you had multiple locations. Everything was kind of building, and then when did it hit its peak, and when did it kind of start to close some stuff down and go towards the...
I suppose the peak, because at one point I had, at a couple different points, I had 3 restaurants. I had a concession trailer and frozen pizzas going. So I think that was probably around 2014, 2015 when it was, when I was like, this is a lot, for me. And at that point, it just felt like, I had a lot of balls in the air, and I was kind of spinning my wheels at points, and I thought, I need to kind of focus on what's really working and maybe peel back what, maybe isn't working as well. So that's where I started to have to made some tough choices, I guess, if you will. So
yeah. And the frozen pizza thing, you said you kind of started out doing providing pizzas. You were in the frozen pizza game. When did you first get into it? Was it through fundraisers?
Yes. So I
Okay.
think if I had to put like an actual time frame on it, I think it was about 2013, 2014
Okay.
when I first got my first one rolling. And again, it was in the winter. Um, and I actually remember exactly how it started. It was, I think it was Breckenridge High School did the first one. And what happened was they went out and did your traditional fundraiser like we do now. The junior class went out and sold pizzas, and it went over really well. And in addition to it going over really well, Econo Foods out of Wapaton, one of the managers over there reached out to me and said, "Hey, we really like these pizzas. Would you be interested in putting them in our grocery store?"
Hmm.
So almost from the get go, um, we got them into a store almost immediately.
Wow. And how much of that, like, I think it's the best frozen pizza that you can get. One of the best frozen pizzas you can get. You can get them at Outstate. Fergus Brewing was serving them. Uh, how close to the pizza that you were getting in the restaurant is the frozen pizza? There's no way it can be as good as like a fresh dough made in a restaurant.
Right. And I'll be the first to admit that obviously it's not the same as a fresh pizza. And but with that being said, obviously the dough is not the same. It's just not. Um, but we use the same sauce, the same cheese blend, same toppings, but that the crust is different. So so with all that being said, it's similar, but it is, if for those that remember the restaurant, I mean the crust was really what we kind of hung our hat on, if you
Mm.
will, what kind of made our pizza stand out. So,
Yeah.
but everything else it really is the same. The cheese blend and the sauce are identical to what we were using in the restaurant.
Yep. And obviously, you guys have like some very unique. I don't know how many different flavors. How many different flavors of pizza do you guys have?
Well, we just added a couple new ones again here. It's like I can't stop, adding, but I think we're now at about 32 flavors right now.
32 flavors, like Baskin
Kind of like a
Robbins.
Baskin Robbins,
I
correct?
love
Right,
it.
right.
I love it. I think one of my favorites is the Hazel's Peanut Butter Delight. It's like the peanut butter pepperoni and jalapeno, I
Right.
think is
Yep.
what's on that. I
Yep.
like that one a lot. My go-to at Outstate usually though is like the Mediterranean or the street taco.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys do a very, very good job of just providing a very wide variety of pizzas. So,
Well, yeah, thank you.
and then you were saying you would do some other stuff too. I didn't even know that you guys had like cookies and some subs and some other products as well.
Yes. So when we started, with these other kind of what we call add-on items, just kind of have gradually grown as we've added more things to our fundraising mix. But so we have frozen cookies. It's mostly desserts what we try to add, but frozen cookies. Um, we call them fruit crisp. They're like cobblers essentially. We've got soups and we've got um, pastas and things like that. So it's just extra things, to help kind of set our product apart. Instead of just pizza. Pizza being, of course, our main thing. And that's what we're known for. But for those that want a little extra something else, that just helps. You know, set ourselves apart from maybe the competition.
And some of that stuff maybe comes in when you start doing the fundraisers a little bit more than just selling pizzas wholesale.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
So you guys, obviously that fundraiser game has grown significantly since that first Breckenridge fundraiser. Would that you say that's like kind of a staple of your business? Is that like a big part of what drives business for you guys?
Yes, definitely a big part of what drives our business. And what as we've grown and we, obviously you just like in the restaurant business, if you can wait it out long enough and you grow and you learn, um, you learn from your mistakes and you find out what makes things work a little bit better. Same with the fundraising business. Over the years we've grown and we've been fortunate that people have supported us, obviously. But we try to set ourselves apart with customer service being our absolute number one thing, and we what we call student pack, but we pack the orders to every one of the students' orders. So when we arrive and we deliver the product, all of the boxes have the students' names and they're packed to every one of the students. So we try to make it a super easy and convenient, and the less hassle, the better. Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people appreciate that because it's already a little bit stressful to begin with when you got a big truckload of stuff that shows up and you got a bunch of students, ready to go. And so we try to make it as easy as possible.
Absolutely. And then obviously you mentioned I mentioned you're at Outstate. If you want like if you want to go out to eat and eat this Ole Lena's pizza, you can go get one at Outstate. Probably a few other bars as well that are serving this.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've got a few other bars around the area that are selling pizzas, and Outstate's been fantastic. Same with Fergus Brewing. But yeah, we've got other local bars around the area that are also selling pizzas as well. So,
and then service food
has been fantastic. I mean, we've got. I probably have about 100 accounts.
Wow,
roughly. But
all over
the place. But probably too many to rattle off the top of my head. But I could go literally town to town and just say nothing but great things about all of them.
But all over Otter Tail County.
Correct.
And you were in Walmart for a while.
And we still are.
You still are in Walmart. So you can go get pizzas at Walmart in Fergus
Correct.
Falls. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. I guess I didn't know. I don't shop at Walmart that much, but interesting. So what else then do you feel like, because we're about to get into the good part of the interview now, because we're going to start talking about your ambitions for Rothsay here in the town of Rothsay. But what else do the people need to know about Ole and Lena's, your standing in the community as a business owner? Yeah.
Well, I guess if I could, if there's one thing I could throw out there, I just want to say thank you really to all of our customers. We've been doing it now for a little while. We've been fortunate to still be in business, for one. And it wouldn't happen without the huge support from, not only family and friends, but, people who I think genuinely like our product. And I just want to say thank you, because, without that, we obviously wouldn't be in business, and we really do appreciate it. So,
yeah. Well, we love having your community. I love having, it's so cool having different businesses, different staple businesses. You guys are, I'm surprised that name must have stuck with me, because you guys opened in 2007 and I graduated in 2008. And so it must have been like, it feels like you guys have been around forever to me,
Right.
Which kind of is actually 2008 kind of is a long, long time ago by now. But yeah. So political aspirations. Let's get into it. Mayor Shane Balken. Okay. What made you decide that it was time to be the mayor?
I don't know if there was anything that made me decide to do it per se, but over the last, let's say 15 years, I was on the city council for 8 years on a previous stint. And like I kind of alluded to, there was a point where I was really kind of bombarded with a lot going on my professional business side. So I stepped down for a while, just needed a little bit of a break, kids and family life too, or, had a lot going on. But, after a while you go, you know what, it's time to step back up, and I want to help out my community and be involved. So a few years ago, I stepped back on the city council, and I've been on the council for the last couple of years. And Joe Tillman had decided to not run for mayor, and he had said, "Hey, are you interested?" And I said, "Well, I guess, I'll give it a shot." Sure. So here we are. So,
and it took how many votes? How many votes did it take to become the mayor of Rothsay?
Well, I think it was like 190 somewhere.
190 votes,
like that.
Which I got 333 votes in the Ward 1 city council race, and I got third place out of 3 in my race. So it's Rothsay. The scale is small, but the opportunity is very, very large for this community, right? How many city council seats are there?
There are 4 councilmen, and then 1 mayor, and then obviously the mayor. So,
4 council seats and a mayor.
Correct,
okay. Yeah. Interesting, very interesting. And does the mayor vote in that system?
The mayor does vote as well, correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's not just a tie-breaking vote, you vote on everything.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. So what has been the biggest things that you feel like you've dealt with or faced as a city councilman throughout your stint there, and maybe like what your plans are for change, or do you have plans for change?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's why you kind of get on the council, is to help improve. Hopefully, you don't want to just see the status quo, and
right.
So that, yeah, I definitely have some goals in mind. As far as what I'm most proud of, I suppose, over the previous stint, we were able to bring in, new wastewater and sewer projects and things like that. I mean, things that aren't real sexy per se, but, it's just things that are just take a lot of kind of behind the scenes work. And, it doesn't get a lot of attention, but it's important.
Yeah.
And that's, going forward, it's kind of the same thing. Like all the other kind of local towns, Rothsay isn't any different. We need more housing, to be honest. We could use more businesses. And, it's especially business is what I have a real passion for. And I'd like to see a few more come into town. I'd like to help. We just passed a new, not an ordinance, but we're offering incentives for new building, like for a 3-year tax abatement for new builds and stuff like that. So we're hoping that might be a little bit of an attractive, enticement for people to come into town. And
cannabis. You guys gonna be doing cannabis out there?
I don't know if we're gonna be doing cannabis per se, but you know what? We wouldn't. We'd certainly be open to the.
You'd be dumb not to. Yeah. You'd be dumb not to. I'll just leave it at that. We won't get into the cannabis discussion.
Right.
But let's talk about the history of Rothsay.
Okay.
Though the history of Rothsay as a community, according to my assistant here, we're looking back to like the 1850s, 1860s when this land area was surveyed by European settlers. Obviously, there's a Native American history. Are you familiar with a Native American history in that area at all?
Fairly familiar with it, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it.
The Native American history. Well, I can tell you from how Rothsay kind of came about. Now, I don't know exactly the actual Native American that helped settle it per se, but I can tell you from moving forward from about 1883 how Rothsay came about. That was the railroad that came through.
Yep.
But it was actually Rothsay was named after, of all things, a Scottish immigrant, his hometown in Scotland. But it's Rothsay with an E. Okay. But somehow when he named it, the E was left off and it became Rothsay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that's how. But it was the railroad that came through town that.
And that was basically what really propelled this whole area. The river sparked Ottertail Power, obviously, that helped grow this area and probably supply power to that region and help grow kind of everything. I mean, all this regional history sort of ties into James Fergus and those European settlers that came and developed a lot of these areas. But so throughout the years, has it been a bigger community? Has their population ever been larger?
No, it hasn't. No,
it's just always been a little.
It's always been a small town. I mean, obviously the commercial side of it has been bigger. We've had more buildings and had more businesses, but the residential side has never been larger than 500.
Okay.
So, obviously there used to be more farms around the area. So, for instance, like the school's population was larger at different points, but no, the town itself has never been any larger than what it is.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yep. And then the other note here is it says 1972, Rothsay erected its iconic prairie chicken statue standing 13 feet tall, weighing 9,000 pounds to celebrate the area's prairie heritage and attract tourism. So the prairie chicken status, let's talk about it.
Absolutely. I think I don't want to, get too technical, but I think it was 1976.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can tell you a little bit about it though. So Art Fussy, who was our, an amazing, not only resident, but just an amazing engineer. He built several things around the area, but he's the one who was credited with building the prairie chicken. So he built it out of steel and plaster, and he did it for the upcoming bicentennial for 76.
Okay.
Yeah, but in honor of the prairie chicken surrounding area.
What's a prairie chicken?
It's kind of like a grouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you guys have a little statue there. There's something to go see in Rothsay.
Yep. Oh, for sure.
There absolutely is. What's in the building that was Ole Lena's?
Well, unfortunately, right now it's just vacant. Yeah. So when the gentleman who bought it from me, it turned it into a barbecue place, and Unfortunately, COVID, like a few other, restaurants and businesses, kind of took its toll on it. So
Yeah.
after COVID, got shut down, and unfortunately, it's been closed ever since.
Hmm. Um, what else? I mean, what's the main attraction? You got the Rothsay truck stop there. That's a pretty hopping operation.
Absolutely, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
what else? What else brings people into the town? What else does the town produce? Is it known for producing or exporting anything?
I don't know about export. You know what? It exports fun. I think that's
Yeah.
maybe it's an
Okay.
exporter of fun. So in addition, we've got the truck stop is iconic. It's been there since 1968. When the interstate came through, the truck stop was built, and it's been a legend ever since. But in addition, we've got our powerhouse, the local bar. Angie and Richie own that. They've done a fantastic job with.
Every town of
Yeah.
500 people needs a good local
Absolutely,
bar.
absolutely, we've
Yeah.
got a great bar.
Good
So
patrons that support that bar.
absolutely,
That's what we need. Yep.
absolutely. So we got a great bar. We've got a great truck stop. The other thing we got is a great school.
I've heard that. I've
yeah.
heard that you guys have like a very surprisingly great school for the size of your town.
Yeah, we were fortunate to pass a referendum, several years ago when they needed to build a new school, and yeah, it's been great. Beautiful school, K through 12. Um, I'm not sure I think the enrollment hovers around like 300. So, great student to teacher ratio. I mean, so we do really well with open enrollment as far as people know that Rothsay does a great job with the students and the teachers. And, like I said, the ratios right now are great as far as taking care of the kids. So we got a great school system as well.
Yeah, yeah. And as far as the future or like future plans for Rothsay, like you mentioned maybe some tax increment financing or some tax breaks for some businesses to open up and get started. But I mean, what else? What's the future look like for Rothsay? You feel like the town could easily double. We could easily double the population of Rothsay here, right?
Easily double, correct? Easily, yes. No, I think it looks good. Right now, I think the best thing that we have going for it, in addition to, like the businesses that I just mentioned, we've got a group of people that are really eager to make some positive changes, and so that's why I'm really excited not only to be the mayor, but we have a really kind of an aggressive group of people on our economic development board. And this past 2 years, we've been doing some really good things. We've already got a couple new houses that have come on board, and we're looking to do some other things like that. But the biggest thing is when you've got a group of people that are all kind of like-minded and wanting to see positive change. That's when really good things happen.
Do you feel like there's overall like good cohesion? Is there tension amongst people in the political sphere? Like do you have a school board there as well as is a school, they have an individual school board in Rothsay?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we've got a great school board too. So, I'm not on the school board, but we do work together really well. As a matter of fact, we just met with the school board, and we're trying to do some joint things together with our city council and the school board. But no, I don't think I think we've got some excellent cohesion. Like I said,
That's
right
good.
now, and every community goes through this. There's times when things aren't so great, and then there's times when they are. And I would say right now, things are really good and very positive as far as who we have, stepping up and wanting
Yep.
to make positive changes.
Yep. I'm a firm believer that um like the right amount of disagreement is like what's really needed in those conversations. Like it can't be all kumbaya, it can't be all
Absolutely.
everybody getting along. Um I certainly have witnessed some things and like not necessarily experienced them personally, but just seeing what other candidates went through in their election process here in Fergus that just kind of made me a little sick for our community as far as our ability to see a different viewpoint and be okay with somebody thinking differently than you and understanding that like having two people on a school board in a school board meeting together that don't necessarily think the same, like you're going to end up with the best outcome that way because there's
Yeah.
going to be some level of compromise
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to have I think that will drive people to you're going to learn something when you sit down with somebody who has a different viewpoint than you. Like there's just a lot of thing. So I imagine it's easier to manage the emotions when you have, let's say, half as many school board members or half as many councilmen, or just lower probably budget items, like maybe like less big decisions than like is having to get made in the Fergus Falls School District or the Fergus Falls City Council. But
Right. I mean,
yeah,
there is something to be said, as far as not having quite as much bureaucracy, and
right.
that's partly why I really like being at the local level, especially like in Rothsay, because
Yeah.
I mean, because when you can really affect change at that
Mhm.
that level, that's it's a good feeling.
The bigger the government gets, the worse it gets, honestly. Like the
Yeah,
bigger.
totally. Yeah, yeah.
So, well, um, I guess what else here about like maybe the future of Ole Lena's and maybe where you see the pizzeria or the distribution of pizza going. Are you guys regional? Are you guys nation? Do you guys are distributing nationwide yet?
No, not nationwide, but regional for sure.
Notice
Right?
how I said yet,
Yes,
because I
yes,
believe
yes,
in you.
yes.
I
Well, I
believe in you.
appreciate that. Thanks, Jake. No, not nationwide yet, but regional for sure. We're
Also,
in,
don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to get this Yuletide feeling going. I feel like you haven't touched it. You know.
I will. I promise. No, yeah, regional for sure. We're in three states, soon to be four, maybe five.
North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. I've got my first fundraiser in Montana coming up that we're going to be, distributing.
Awesome.
So that'll be kind of cool. And I say five. My brother lives out in Colorado, so I might drive out there just for the fun of it.
Nice.
Bring one out there. But
Nice.
no, as far as plans, I think we're just, hopefully the growth continues to look pretty positive right now. I don't foresee us stopping, at least in the near future.
How many employees do you have?
Right now, I think we're at 7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay. And mainly they are sales, distribution, production. You don't make your own pizzas. Do you make your own pizzas?
No, we don't. So going back to when I was looking, to add frozen pizzas, I started working with a manufacturer out in Faribault, Minnesota, and they've been a great fit, and I've stuck with them ever since. So they actually make them for me. They ship them up to us, and then we do all the distribution out of Fergus Falls.
Okay, so Faribault is where
Correct.
the Ole Lena's pizzas are made.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. And then you have a main warehouse in Fergus?
Correct.
Okay, that's kind of your headquarters.
That's kind of the corporate headquarters.
Corporate
Correct, yeah.
headquarters.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And the fundraisers, how does that structure work? How does that set up to benefit the people that want to raise funds, and then also it has to be financially feasible for you guys to participate in that?
Right. Obviously, from the very beginning, it has to be worthwhile for the group to do it, and that's on a very basic level. If it isn't worthwhile for them to do it, then obviously it's not, doesn't make sense. So, so for every dollar that's spent or sold, they earn 34%. And so in addition to that, like I said, not only do they make a really good profit, it also needs to be easy for them to manage. We don't just show up, drop everything off, and then say, here you go, see ya, and, kind of wipe our hands clean and take off. So we try to make it absolutely as easy as possible, and like I said, try and set ourselves apart from the competition in that regard. And then obviously, yes, I mean, it has to be, make financial sense from our standpoint too, but above and beyond, it has to make financial sense for the group to do it, or else that's where it has to start. So.
Yep. And how many of those fundraisers would you say you do a year?
Well, every year it's been growing. I think right now for 2024, this will be another record-breaking year for us. I suppose we're at probably 250.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
so it's been growing quite a bit.
Interesting. Do you guys do any events or any like out in the community with stuff like that, or are there food expos or anything like that you do?
We did a couple, I guess you could call them food expos. Like, for instance, there's one that I really enjoy doing. It's up in Minot, for those that are familiar with Scandinavian. It's called Husfest. It's their big, I don't know if you want to call it worldwide, but it is a big deal up there, where it's their big Scandinavian festival.
Okay.
And we go up there and sell, and it's just a good way to market and just, get the word out. And then we do some other smaller ones too, but that's one of the bigger ones that we do.
Um, what happened to the concession trailer, or like what happened to all of the assets, like the physical assets, when you shut all that stuff down?
Well, I that was another thing that I was doing, as I mentioned, that all the different things that were going on. I kept the concession trailer up until about 2 years ago, and I sold it, which, is another kind of a tough decision, but, and I might do it again. I really enjoy it. I love making pizza, but, like anything else, you just get a little burned out, and, I just needed a little break. So,
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think we have a local pizza food truck that I can really think of. But obviously the food trucks in this area, they do a really, really good job with the different stuff they do. I could see a market for an Ole Lena's, like like wood fired, or, brick oven pizza. I could see that doing pretty well,
yeah, I think it could come back for sure.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
How about how people can get a hold of you? Do you guys have a website?
We do. Yeah. If they want to go to, it's www.oleandlenas.pizza, or at pizza, excuse me. www.oleandlenas@pizza, and it'll come right up.
Wait, that's the website?
That's the website. Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
www.oleandlenas@pizza?
At pizza. I know.
It's not a dot anything.
I know, right?
Interesting. I didn't even know they did that.
I know.
With
Just
web
trying to be
addresses.
another creative thing here for us. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I will get a link to that in the description. I assume there's ways to get involved with a fundraiser right from there. It's
100%.
pretty streamlined
Yep.
and easy for people to do that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
awesome. Is there like a minimum amount of pizzas that you want to do for those fundraisers? Is there a fundraiser that's too big or too small?
No, that's the other thing. We take on, literally, it could be as small as one person, as large as big as any group. So there's no minimums. We don't charge a delivery fee. And we go all over the place. So I literally go to the edge of Western North Dakota.
Wow.
So, no, so, like I said, we I don't want to say I'm hungry for the business, but you know what, we're willing to go after it. And I think, again, that's maybe what set us apart a little bit, is that, we don't say no, put it that way.
Yeah. What are some of the things that have surprised you the most? Let's just talk about like maybe challenges or surprises that have come up throughout your career, whether it be military or Ole Lena's or small town government.
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say, as far as surprises, I don't know if there's a surprise per se, but challenges, I would say, maybe just in general in life, I would say, there's always naysayers out there. This is, whether it's been in the military, in my business, whatever, personal life, whatever. But, I just don't have a whole lot of time for naysayers. And that's, if there's one thing that I learned early on in my military career, I worked for a lot of type A personalities, and they absolutely didn't take no for an answer, and I just, so you learn early on, you don't say no, you just find a way to make it work. And that's kind of how I approach things. I find, I like to find solutions, not problems. Right. And, so early on, I always looked for solutions, maybe because I had to, because that was part of my job. But, so then as I grew and went into my own business, I carried that with me. And, I really do like finding solutions, and, say it's, whether it's local government, whatever. I don't have a lot of time for people who say no. And I like people, I like surrounding myself with positive people. So and that's, in anything, whether it's personal or business or whatever. And I think it makes a big difference, in how things get done in your life. And, so that's, if I had anything to, words of wisdom for, is just don't hang around with negative people.
Yeah, that's good. You kind of answered the best business advice before I got it to you, but that's okay. That is so good. Surrounding yourself with people who believe that you can succeed or want to be part of your success. And also, I got recommended a book recently, Soundtracks by John Acuff or Acuff, however you say his name. But it's all about that perception, right? The stories we tell ourselves, we've all probably been trapped in like self-defeating thought at times where you're not telling yourself you're not telling yourself that life's going to be positive, or you have a less than perfect or less than positive outlook for your life. Like, it really matters, those soundtracks that we tell ourselves, and surrounding yourselves with people who are buying into fixing things and not just saying this is wrong, this is broken, this is wrong, this is broken. So
Absolutely.
Highlighted product for Ole Lena's. What pizza sells the most?
You know what? It's, again, maybe not the sexiest pizza, but the pizza that sells the most.
Pepperoni. Nope.
Pepperoni is right up there for sure, but it's breakfast pizza.
Breakfast pizza.
Yeah,
you got one option in the morning.
Right. It's it has really become our number one selling pizza, and it used to be the 4-meat, which is our oofta is what we call it, which didn't surprise me. Everyone around here likes meat, but breakfast has just kind of taken over the number one spot.
I haven't had the breakfast pizza. I gotta try it.
It's
What's
good.
on the breakfast pizza?
It's a cheese sauce as the base, and then it's then obviously more cheese. So then it's scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage. Yeah, it's simple, but it's good. Really good.
I'll have to get in. I know they serve that at the coffee shop at Outstate in the morning, I believe. So, well, do you have anything else that comes up when I say best business advice? This is a segment that is brought to you by Liberty Business Systems here. So if you got anything left for us for business advice besides just avoiding naysayers, that is some great advice.
Right. Oh boy. I am kind of stuck. Like I said, that last one is my biggest one. The only other thing I could say is just don't give up. That's, again, sounds kind of elementary, really, but I just don't give up. That's one thing that I've always pushed through it, even though it's easy to give up, but I just don't give up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, I can't say enough about how much I appreciate you coming in and sitting down for this interview. I feel like I'm going to talk to Paul and the boys, and they're going to say, why didn't you ask about this? Or why didn't you ask about this? So it's probably better that you avoided some of that stuff. You don't need everything aired out for the world. The world doesn't need to know everything that Paul knows about you, for sure. Yeah. But no, I really do appreciate this. I have a good feeling about the direction of the town of Rothsay under your leadership. So I think that the city's in good hands there. I'm excited.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see, whatever happens with Ole and Lena's. I appreciate your guys' pizza. I'll continue to eat it. I encourage everyone else to do the same. So,
well, thanks, Jake. I appreciate that too.
Of course. If you guys are listening on, however you're getting this podcast, whether you're listening on 1250 AM, if you found it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else you get your podcasts, like I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you interacting with the show. If you feel like you'd want to participate in this show, whether it be as a sponsor or getting involved, just coming on and sharing your story as a guest, I'm always looking for people to sit down with and talk. So I'm not sure who's going to be next on the show, but I think I'm going to try and get a little Christmas episode in. I've heard Missy Hermes knows a thing or two about Christmas history, so maybe I'll get her in for that. But before we get out of here, do you have thoughts here on this Yuletide feeling, the pomegranate, juniper, and lime hard seltzer?
Tell you what, I like it. If I'm being honest, seltzers aren't my go-to drink. Now, I do like it. One is probably enough for me. My absolute favorite beer that Outstate makes is the Pond Hockey Porter.
The Pond Hockey Porter.
I was just there last night, and I had a couple.
I had one in the fridge too. I could have sent it out here for you. The Pond Hockey's delicious.
I'm a dark beer kind of guy. Yeah. So, but no, seltzers are good too. But
the juniper in this hits the palate a little bit different.
Yeah,
it does. It kind of adds a little bit different element to it. But anyways, thank you guys very much for listening. And yeah, we'll get out of here. And thanks for participating, Shane.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, my pleasure. Love it.